Once upon a time, in a world that doesn't quite understand the concept of child services, lived Stephney, a 9-year-old girl with the independence of a cat and the housekeeping skills of a tornado. Left by her parents for reasons unknown, maybe they went to find the end of the internet, she's got the whole living solo gig down, except for the minor detail of being a walking disaster. Her BFF? A stuffed turtle named Francis. Because, let's face it, who needs human friends when you've got plush reptiles? Stephney's daily grind is what adult dreams are made of. Watching cartoons with the dedication of a scholar, playing the piano like a toddler Mozart, and whipping up smoothies that are probably 90% sugar, 10% fruit. When the world outside is falling apart to supernatural shenanigans and everyone's playing an intense game of don't leave your house, Stephney's like, cool story, bro, and goes back to her cartoons. Because, priorities. One day, as she's blending up a storm in the kitchen, she hears a noise upstairs. It's like the start of a horror movie, except the intruder is a ball. Yup, definitely ghostly activity, or maybe the house settling in the most dramatic way possible. Stephney, in her infinite bravery, tells the unseen ball dropper off and goes back to her culinary disaster zone, where she promptly steps on broken glass. Because who needs safety when you're living on the edge? With no adults around to fuss over her, Stephney MacGyvers a bandage onto her foot and carries on because she's tough as nails, or just really used to stepping on things. Dinner time is a lonely affair with her imaginary family of 4, because apparently she's optimistic enough to think they might show up if she just sets enough plates. The next day she decides Francis needs a crash course in hide and seek because obviously, stuffed turtles have a natural talent for stealth. Hiding in her makeshift tent, she's suddenly part of a thriller involving a mysterious monster outside. Stephney does her best impression of a ninja, staying silent until the monster gives up and goes away, clearly disappointed at the lack of snacks or entertaining humans. Later, as she's playing football with Francis, because who needs FIFA when you've got a turtle, she notices Mr. Hopper, the rabbit, has broken free from Alcatraz. Showing off her Michelin star skills, she prepares a gourmet meal of tomato sauce for him. Because when your culinary skills are limited to smoothies and ketchup, you embrace it. So, Stephney, in a valiant but doomed effort, tries to convince Mr. Hopper, the rabbit with a death wish, to not run off into the woods, because obviously rabbits are well known for their obedience. That night, as Stephney is brushing her teeth, because dental hygiene waits for no ghost, the electricity decides it's had enough and quits, plunging our girl into darkness. Cue dramatic music. In a panic, Stephney seeks comfort from her brother, Paul, who seems to be taking a very committed approach to playing dead. When she begs him for protection, his hand moves, suggesting he's either possessed or practicing his zombie impression. Then, because things weren't creepy enough, Stephney hears a bang by the window and discovers a crime scene, complete with blood, but missing the yellow tape. Following the trail, she finds Mr. Hopper, who's clearly had a worse night than her. In a fit of rage, Stephney confronts Paul, who's been moonlighting as a corpse. She grabs a baseball bat and goes to town on him, only to find out he's been rotting away. Plot twist. The saga continues with a rainy night and a power outage because why not add some classic horror tropes into the mix? Stephney heads to the basement, finds the washing machine throwing a rave, and decides it's nap time in her tent. In the middle of the night, Stephney's house turns into a water park, minus the fun, and with added creepy stalker vibes. Lightning reveals someone's behind her, but surprise, it's just her parents, Eric and Jane, who've apparently been on an extended vacation from parenting. The next day, Jane decides to change her dress in front of Stephney, showcasing some mysterious dot-like scars. Because what's a family reunion without a little body horror, right? Meanwhile, Dad's outside playing with wooden blocks, claiming it's to keep the monsters out. Sure, Jan. Stephney, not one to let a decomposed body ruin her day, goes looking for Paul, only to find he's been given the backyard burial treatment. In a moment of defiance, she tries to dig him up, because who needs therapy when you've got determination? But then, Mommy Dearest calls her back with a stern warning to stay inside the fence. Stephney agrees but can't help wishing for a family that's less Addams Family and more Brady Bunch. So, our star Stephney's munching on pancakes one fine morning, because nothing says good morning like a side of existential questioning. She decides to casually drop the "Hey Mom, why'd you ghost me?" bomb. Jane plays the classic "It wasn't me" card, claiming they thought Stephney got monster napped, because, apparently, that's a legit excuse for parental abandonment. Stephney, ever the monster whisperer, schools her mom on Monster Etiquette 101, keep calm and carry on, or the thing from the woods gets cranky. Fast forward to dinner, and it's like an episode of The Twilight Zone. Paul's dead body decides to make a dramatic re-entry through the window, courtesy of our friendly neighborhood monster. The parents are all teary, while Stephanie's like, "Oh, cool, Paul's back. Pass the salt." At dinner, Eric confirms that yes, the monster's got a vendetta against Stephney. Because what's a family dinner without discussing supernatural stalkers, right? Then we've got Stephney turning into Nancy Drew, snooping through Mom's room only to find a creepy collage of kitty criminals and brain surgery for dummies. Jane bursts in, has a meltdown over brain pics, and chucks them. Cut to Stephney chilling in the bathtub, because horror movie cliches, and Dad comes in with a TED Talk about how the monster is just Stephanie's bad vibes. He gets all teary-eyed, confessing his daddy fears, and Stephanie's probably thinking, wow, emotional much? Night falls, and Stephney overhears her parents debating her brain's future. Mom's all, let's go full mad scientist, and Dad's like, but feelings. Stephney, eavesdropping, decides to not engage because who needs family drama when you can just go to bed? Then, in a twist no one asked for, Stephney dreams of opening a door to find Dad's ghost, prompting a scream fest. But wait, there's more. She wakes up, still not sold on the whole "it was just a dream" spiel, and investigates the door scene again, only for her parents to show up for a group hug and a late-night chat about her nightmare. Picture this. Stephney casually mentions her nightmare about her dad being Monster Chow, and bam! The front door swings open like it's hosting a Black Friday sale, and an invisible paranormal bouncer decides Eric needs a timeout, outside. In a move that screams, Mother of the Year, Jane scoops up Stephney, and they both dive into the world's least comfy Airbnb, their closet. Stephney, channeling her inner Zen master, advises her mom to keep it down so the monster won't find them. Classic hide-and-seek, but with higher stakes. After a suspenseful silence, Jane peeks out, declares all clear. But then, whoops, Stephney gets yoinked by the unseen force. Plot twist, it's like the monster has a Stephney radar. In a moment of pure, I'm not a regular mom, I'm a cool mom. Panic, Jane watches as Stephney, in a bid for freedom, decides windows are for amateurs and makes her grand escape, only to eat dirt. Undeterred by gravity or common sense, she aims for a ladder back to the house stunt. Eric and Jane, now playing a twisted game of tug-of-war with their daughter and Casper the not-so-friendly ghost, watch helplessly as Jane finally goes full superhero and yanks Stephney from the ladder. Just when you thought it couldn't get any weirder, enter stage left a tentacled creature, because why settle for invisible forces when you can have an octopus party? Jane, in a moment of desperation, decides it's nap time for Stephney via a chloroformed handkerchief. "You are the monster," she whispers. A line so cliché it deserves its own sitcom laugh track. Fast forward to the world's most awkward breakfast apology, where Stephanie's like, "My bad for the whole running away and becoming a tentacle monster thing." Eric, ever the optimist, breaks the news. Stephanie's got a monster controlling her, and apparently pendulum balls are the solution because science. Flashback to a pumpkin carving session gone wrong, where Paul teases Stephney and gets the tentacle treatment. Nothing says sibling rivalry like unleashing your inner kraken. In a turn of events, Jane tries to calm the beast with a vaccine because, apparently, that's how we're rolling now. Next up, a DIY brain surgery in the family operation room. Because who needs professionals? Jane's ready to go full mad scientist to exorcise the monster. But surprise, Stephanie's not on board and decides to redecorate, monster style. Cut to Eric, now a news junkie, learning that the world's attempt at monster rehab via brain surgery is a bust, with more doctors down than in a season finale of Grey's Anatomy. And there you have it, folks. The cure was worse than the disease. So, after the world's most disastrous attempt at brain surgery, because sure, let's try to fix telekinesis with a scalpel, the next logical step is apparently to whip up a batch of poison hot chocolate, because nothing says loving parents like trying to off your kid with her favorite drink. So, Eric, in a Father of the Year moment, decides a nice walk in the woods is the perfect setup. "Hey kiddo, sorry about the whole trying to kill you thing, but here, have some cocoa." Just as Stephanie's about to take a sip, her telekinesis kicks in, sending the cup flying because even her subconscious knows you never trust woodland beverages. In a scene straight out of a B-movie, Eric decides it's high noon and goes all Wild West on Stephney, turning a father-daughter hike into a shootout. Cut to Eric, home alone, drowning in tears and guilt, because, surprise, shooting your telekinetic daughter didn't go as planned. But wait, there's a twist. Stephney pulls a surprise I'm not dead move and greets Eric at the back door the next morning, looking like she's ready for round 2. In a turn of events that shocks absolutely no one, she decides she's had enough of parental guidance and goes full poltergeist, launching Eric into orbit and giving Jane the wall-smashing tour of their home. In the grand finale, Stephney turns the house into a DIY demolition site, flings her parents into the afterlife, and decides to pay tribute to Paul by leaving their bodies at his grave. Because nothing says sibling love like making your brother's final resting place a family reunion spot. As if that wasn't enough, Stephney then decides to throw a telekinetic tantrum on the neighborhood, proving that toy turtles are indeed the root of all evil by stomping on Francis in a dramatic display of "I'm the villain now." The movie wraps up with an aerial shot of Earth, now starring in its own disaster flick thanks to a league of angsty telekinetic tweens setting it ablaze. Because when in doubt, end with an apocalypse.